Welcome to Real Sticks Guy, where the stuff you never learned finally makes sense. No fancy visuals, just real tips, real talk, and a whole lot of laughs. Let's get started. You are standing at the edge of a big decision. Should you buy a house in 2025 or wait it out and risk missing your chance? It is the question everyone is asking, and honestly, there is no easy answer. You scroll through headlines and they are all over the place. Some say the crash is coming. Others say prices are only going higher. Rates might drop, or they might spike. Inventory is up. No, wait, it is actually down again. It feels like trying to read tea leaves in the middle of an earthquake. And here is the worst part. While everyone else is arguing, you are stuck in the middle just trying to figure out whether now is the right time to take the plunge or stay put and hope things get better. You are not trying to win a real estate game show. You just want a place to live that will not wreck your budget. So let's cut through the noise and talk about what really matters. Not the hype, not the headlines, but the actual truth about the 2025 housing market and what it means for you. Whether you are a first-time buyer, thinking about upsizing, or just trying to stop renting and start building equity, this video is going to give you a clear picture of what is going on and what you can actually do about it. Because here is the thing. Everyone talks about the market like it is one giant thing moving in the same direction. But in reality, it is a patchwork. Some areas are cooling down. Others are still red hot. Some buyers are getting deals. Others are overpaying. It all depends on where you are, what you are buying, and how well you play the game. So stick with me, because by the end of this video, you are going to know exactly how to approach 2025 like a pro, spot the traps, dodge the hype, and make the kind of move that future you will thank you for. All right, let's break it down. So why is 2025 such a weird year to be buying a house? Well, for starters, we are still in the aftermath of the pandemic housing frenzy. Remember that? Homes were flying off the market in hours. People were offering way over asking, sometimes sight unseen. Waiving inspections, appraisal gaps, love letters to sellers, it was chaos. Then the Fed raised interest rates, hard and fast. Suddenly, all that easy money disappeared. Mortgage rates shot up, monthly payments skyrocketed, buyers pulled back, sellers hesitated. And now here we are, stuck in this awkward middle zone where the market is not crashing, but it is definitely not booming either. It is like the housing market took a Red Bull, sprinted full speed into a wall, and is now wandering around slightly dazed trying to figure out what just happened. Inventory is still a huge issue. There just are not enough homes for sale in many parts of the country. And the homes that are available, a lot of them are either way overpriced or just not what people are looking for. You have got aging homes that need work, new builds that are expensive, and sellers who are still clinging to last year's pricing dreams. And yet, despite all that, there is still demand. People still need places to live. First-time buyers are still trying to get in. Families are growing. People are relocating for work. And investors? They are still sniffing around for good deals, especially in growing cities or areas with strong rental demand. So what does that mean for you? It means the 2025 market is a minefield. Not a total disaster, but definitely not a free-for-all either. If you want to buy, you have to be sharp. You have to know the terrain, and you have to understand what is really going on behind the headlines. Which brings us to one of the biggest misunderstandings out there right now, the idea that prices are about to crash. Like, total nosedive. And while that might sound nice if you are a buyer, the reality is a lot more complicated. Now let's get into it, prices. This is where most people get confused, and it is not your fault. The information out there is messy. One article says prices are falling. Another says they are rising. So what is actually happening? Well, it depends on where you are. In some overpriced markets, places that saw massive growth during the pandemic, prices have dipped. Nothing dramatic. More like a 5 to 10% correction. Think of it like steam being let out of a pressure cooker. It is not an explosion, it is a release. But in other markets, especially smaller cities with strong job growth, prices are holding steady. In some cases, they are even creeping up again. Why? Because demand still outweighs supply. And that is the core issue. No matter what rates do, people still need homes, and there just are not enough of them. So if you are waiting for a massive crash where homes suddenly become dirt cheap again, you might be waiting forever. We are not in a 2008 situation. Back then, There was a surplus of homes, risky loans, and a lot of speculation. Now, lending standards are tighter. Homeowners are sitting on fixed low rates, and there is no flood of foreclosures around the corner. In fact, here is something most people miss. A lot of homeowners right now are locked into insanely low rates, like under 3%. That is basically free money, which means they have zero reason to sell unless they absolutely have to. And that's part of why inventory is so tight. They are holding on to those homes like golden tickets. So even if rates fall a little, do not expect a flood of new listings. People might refinance, sure, but they are not going to give up their unicorn loans just to jump into something more expensive. Speaking of rates, let's talk about that for a second, because it is a huge piece of this puzzle. Right now, mortgage rates are still hovering higher than most buyers would like, somewhere in the 6 to 7% range depending on the loan type, your credit, and the lender. That is way up from the 2 and 3% fantasy land we had just a couple years ago. But here is the deal. Those low rates were not normal. They were an emergency response to a global crisis. You cannot build a financial plan hoping those will come back. It would be like planning your vacation around a free airline ticket lottery. Nice if it happens, but not the smartest strategy. Some experts think rates might come down a bit later this year if inflation cools and the economy slows. Maybe mid to low sixes, maybe high fives if we are lucky. But that is not guaranteed. If inflation spikes or the Fed stays cautious, rates could stay right where they are or even go back up. So the big question is not just will rates fall? It is, can you afford to buy even if they do not? Because if the answer is yes, and you find the right home, it might be worth moving now, especially if competition is low and sellers are motivated. But we are not done yet. The next part might be even more important than rates or prices. It is about the hidden costs of waiting and what it could mean for your long-term financial picture. Ready? Let's keep going. So here is something nobody really talks about: the cost of waiting. Not just the price tag on homes or the interest rate. I am talking about the stuff that flies under the radar. The stuff that creeps up slowly and quietly drains your wallet while you are waiting for the perfect market moment. Let's say you are renting right now. Maybe a nice place, maybe not so nice. Either way, your rent is probably going up, because rents almost never go down. And every month you are paying someone else's mortgage instead of building your own equity. Let's do a quick thought experiment. Say you are paying $2,000 a month in rent. That is $24,000 a year. Stay in that rental for another 2 years, and that is almost $50,000 gone. Poof. And none of that is coming back to you. Now imagine you had bought a home instead. Even if your mortgage payment was a bit higher, a big chunk of it would be going toward your equity. And as the value of your home slowly goes up even just a little, you are gaining wealth. You are locking in your housing costs. You are building a financial foundation instead of just treading water. Plus, there are tax benefits. There is stability. There is the freedom to actually make the place your own instead of asking your landlord if it is okay to hang a picture on the wall. But maybe you are thinking, yeah, that sounds good. But what if I buy now and prices drop a little more next year? What if I miss out on a better deal? That is totally fair, but let me flip it around. What if you wait and prices stay the same, but mortgage rates go up? Now that same house costs you more every single month for years. Or what if rates do drop, but then everyone jumps back into the market at the same time? Suddenly you are in bidding wars again, fighting over the same limited supply with 10 other buyers. You lose leverage. You pay more than you wanted to. You have to waive protections just to get your offer accepted. Sound familiar? Timing the market is a gamble, and most people lose. The smarter move is to focus on your personal timing. Are you ready financially? Are you planning to stay put for 5 or more years? Do you have a stable income, some emergency savings, and a plan for the future? If so, it might make sense to buy now, not because the market is perfect, but because your situation is. And here is one more thing to consider. When you own a home, you have options. You can refinance if rates drop. You can rent it out if you move. You can sell it and use the equity for your next place. Renting, none of those apply. You are locked in, but in the worst way. All right, let's say you are leaning toward buying. What should you actually do to make sure you do not get burned in this weird 2025 market? That is what we are tackling next: smart buyer moves that will give you the upper hand. Let's go. So you are thinking about buying a house in 2025. Cool. Now let's talk about how to do it smart, not just fast. This market is not the one you can coast through with a see what happens attitude. You need a plan, and it starts with knowing your numbers. First up, monthly payment. Most people obsess over the price tag of a house, but what really matters is what it costs you each month. That means your mortgage payment, property taxes, homeowner's insurance, and don't forget maintenance. Because once you own the place, that leaking faucet is your problem now. So let's say you find a home listed at $300,000. You run the numbers and you think, I can handle that. But then you add taxes, insurance, maybe a small HOA fee. Suddenly your comfy payment turns into something that stretches your budget a little too far. That is where people get into trouble. Instead of shopping by home price, start with your ideal monthly payment. Work backwards from there. That will keep you grounded and help you avoid the trap of falling in love with a house that crushes your finances. Next move, get pre-approved, not just pre-qualified. Pre-approval means a lender has looked at your income, your credit, your debt, and actually told you how much they are willing to lend. It makes you a serious buyer. It gives you an edge when you make an offer, and it shows sellers that you are not just window shopping. Now, here is where things get interesting. If you want the best shot at getting a deal, you need to think like a sniper, not a shotgun. That means targeting the right homes at the right time. You want to look for homes that have been sitting on the market a little too long, maybe 30 days, maybe more. In this kind of market, that is often a signal that the seller is getting nervous. Maybe they overpriced it at first. Maybe they are under pressure to move. Either way, it is your chance to negotiate. You can ask for closing cost credits. You can ask for repairs. You can even ask the seller to buy down your mortgage rate, which lowers your payment without lowering the price. And while we are talking about leverage inspections, do not, I repeat, do not skip the inspection. I know some people are still doing it in competitive markets, but it is just not worth the risk. A good inspector can spot thousands of dollars in future repairs that you would never notice on your own. Electrical issues, roof problems, foundation cracks. That stuff adds up fast. Also, be honest with yourself about renovations. If you are looking at a fixer-upper thinking, oh, we will just redo the kitchen real quick, hit pause. Construction costs are still high. Materials have come down a bit, but skilled labor is expensive, and delays, still very real. What starts as a fun weekend project can quickly turn into 3 months of dust and stress and unexpected bills. That cute outdated bathroom, it might cost you 15 grand to modernize. That old electrical panel, it might need a total upgrade to meet code. So unless you have the time, money, and patience for it, you might want to focus on move-in ready homes, or at least homes with cosmetic issues, not structural ones. And here is a bonus move that is getting more popular in 2025: creative financing. Some sellers are offering rate buydowns or even assuming their own low-interest loan. If you find a home where the seller has a mortgage rate locked in at 3% and they are willing to let you assume it, that could save you a fortune. These deals are rare, but they are out there. And a good real estate agent, someone who knows how to look for this stuff, can be a huge asset. Yes, you could try to do it all yourself, but in this market, going solo is kind of like hiking through a jungle without a guide. You might make it, but it is going to be a lot harder than it needs to be. And if you are buying new construction, different playbook. Builders are sitting on inventory, and in many places, they are offering big incentives to move those home. Think free upgrades, rate incentives, even help with closing costs. But be careful, builders are pros. Their contracts are long. Read every line. Have someone look it over. Do not assume everything is negotiable, but do not assume nothing is either. All right, now we are in a strong position. But there is still one more piece: how to know if buying is actually the right move for you in 2025. We are almost there. Let's finish strong in the next section. So here it is, the big question. Should you actually buy a house in 2025? And the answer, sorry, no shortcuts, is that it depends. Not on what your uncle says, not on what TikTok predicts, not even on whether the market goes up or down next month. It depends on you. You want to make the decision based on your life, not just the market. Because let's face it, the market is always changing. Sometimes it is in your favor, sometimes it is not. But your life, that is the part you actually control. So ask yourself a few honest questions. Are you planning to stay put for at least 5 years? Because that is how long it typically takes for buying to make more financial sense than renting once you factor in the costs of buying, owning, and eventually selling. Do you have a stable job or income stream? Not just hopefully this side hustle works out, stable, but enough consistency to make monthly payments without stress. Because owning a home is not just about the mortgage. It is about the stuff that breaks, the taxes that creep up, the weird neighborhood drama you did not see coming. Do you have some savings beyond your down payment? Because trust me, once you move in, unexpected expenses will show up. A water heater dies. The AC decides it has had enough. Your fence falls over in a windstorm. Welcome to homeownership. It is fun, but it is not free. And most importantly, do you want to buy? Not because your parents are pressuring you, not because you are tired of renting, not because it feels like what you are supposed to do, but because you want the stability, the freedom, the long-term benefits, and you are ready for the responsibility that comes with it. If the answer is yes, then even in a weird market like 2025, it can still be a great time to buy. Not perfect, not easy, but smart if you do it the right way. And remember, you are not locked in forever. If you buy a place now and rates drop later, refinance. If you decide to move, sell or rent it out. If you buy small now, you can always upgrade later. Real estate is not a one-time decision. It is a journey, one step at a time. And if you are not ready, that is totally okay. Renting for another year is not a failure. It is not throwing your life away. It is just a different strategy. Maybe you need more savings. Maybe you want to wait for a clearer path. Maybe your job situation is a little too up in the air. That is fine. Take the pressure off. Do what makes sense for you right now, not for some imaginary future you might regret later. Here is what matters. You are paying attention. You are learning. You are thinking ahead. That already puts you ahead of most people who just drift along and hope for the best. And whether you buy this year or next or not at all, the goal is the same: make smart moves that give you more freedom and security in your life. Because that is what real estate should do. Not stress you out. Not trap you in a bad decision, but open doors literally and financially. So if you are still here, thank you. I hope this helped you feel a little more confident, a little less overwhelmed, and a lot more informed. If you are ready to keep learning, I have got another video coming up that breaks down how mortgage rates actually work and how to use them to your advantage, even if they are high. You do not want to miss that. And if you found this helpful, go ahead and hit that like button. Maybe subscribe if you are into this kind of no-nonsense, real talk. Got a question about your own situation? Drop it in the comments. I read them and reply when I can. Thanks for watching. And remember, the best move is the one that works for you.